It's now the summer of 1984. There are two men in the race, and this is the White House. And therefore you might well expect someone like me to loom up here and start talking earnestly about what's at stake for America and the rest of the world in this election for the next President of the United States. But instead of that, how about this? How about the search for an elusive quarry? They call it the American dream. And perhaps it's what elections here are all about. But where do you begin? No country in the world is so open, so available, so willing to bear its national soul for your scrutiny. And therefore, it's easy to succumb to temptation, to rush into instant judgment about the 234 million citizens of the United States of America, to imagine that you've touched the heartbeat when you alight upon the bizarre, the wayward, or the extreme, while the images to confirm any illusion are in abundant supply. At first, you might easily suppose that the dream has become a nightmare.
L80, has a Rampart unit been assigned that call 1900 South Vermont?
Here in Los Angeles alone, there are 6 bank robberies every day. Throughout America, 5 million violent crimes every year, 20,000 murders.
345, the suspect at your location, probably at 15th location at 1600 North.
We generally, for all of Rampart area, we average about 100 murders a year. On this particular street here, and the park, the area surrounding maybe 10 square blocks here, a very small area, might contain as many as 30 to 40% of those murders, just in this one area here. Very heavy drug dealing neighborhood here. You can get absolutely anything you want in this neighborhood. That's my footbeat unit there. They will frequently park their car and get out and walk up and down this area on foot. They're making, probably an average of 10 arrests a week just on this street for serious major crimes, anywhere from robbery to murder.
Oh, there it is. An image of America that suggests a life so brutish and violent that all decency, let alone the dream, has fled.
What's with you, bud? He wants to be a TV star.
He wants to fall down. Then there is decadent America, hard drugs and soft heads, where the mind is usually located, a vacuum.
Make you run faster, stop on a dime, give people nice and change.
America!
And one! Oh, excuse me.
This America seems very much in love with itself.
The actuals. This is where the dreams are made, the dream factories. This is it.
Wonderful, memorable evening with you. I don't even know. I can't wait.
Liberated souls in search of sensuality play in the fantasy room of Le Hot Tub Club. Here intimacy reigns, but first names are the rule, in case other intimates find out. This is also America, mildly erotic, faintly ridiculous, and very much a minority affair. Of course, there is tacky America, too. In Las Vegas, they spend hour upon hour, day after day, in one forlorn casino after another, dreaming that next time the dime will turn into $100,000. It doesn't. It's tempting then to mock, patronize, condemn, or dismiss America as at very best a nation that can't grow up. As if to confirm the impression, the Big Thunder Mountain Railroad offers what is solemnly publicized as Disney's tribute to the pioneering spirit of our forefathers who sculpted a nation out of the wilderness. Here then, another image of America, the land of the new frontier, of pioneers, adventurers and fortune hunters, all in one heck of a rush. But at least this fantasy, in its somewhat neat and sanitized way, touches on the real world, the world of the American dream. The promise of America began with space, distance, scale. A vast continent filled with every natural resource, and until the middle of the last century, almost empty of people. Then the plains were still possessed by the Indians, as yet unchallenged by the white man. The first Europeans had settled along the coast, leaving the hinterland virtually free of Western civilization until the wagon trains began their long trek across a virgin territory. They wanted land to rear animals and raise families. It was a raw and rough life. The message reached Europe. There was land in abundance, a future in the new world. The old Europe was stricken with war, persecution and poverty, even starvation. The refugees made for the ports, for the ships, an exodus of the downtrodden in search of hope. They crossed the Atlantic in thousands and then millions. And then the Statue of Liberty, with the inscription, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." The immigrants were divided by custom, creed and language, but united in the sense that this was the promised land. By 1920, almost 30 million people in search of the dream had reached the soil of America. Their destination, the new cities of the Industrial Revolution and the tiny settlements of Middle America. The settlements became towns, and the Midwest became the breadbasket of America and then the granary of the world. God's own country. Today, God's own country sometimes seems to have been colonized not by people, but machines, always on the move from one identical destination to another.
And daytime highs in the 60s and 70s, which is where we're at right now.
Oh, Mama, that's what I like.
If you like pizza with lots of toppings, you're going to love Celeste. Celeste uses only the finest ingredients.
It's the same wherever you go. Make it, get it, have it, now. A limitless horizon of used car lots, hamburger joints and motels.
Oh, Dave, look at the rainbow in that waterfall.
And that sunset. Everything about Hawaii is beautiful.
Now, Avis makes beautiful...
And more to make that dream come true.
Help us make the dream come true, to live the way we want.
Today's message by Dr. Oswald Hoffman.
Is this the promised land, the American dream?
And play right to the...
Consume. Express yourself. And you couldn't kiss without him.
I wonder if God, if he was here this morning, would just look at us and say, "Where are you?"
At 95 KSAN.
Somehow the bombardment manages to be both brazen and bland at the same time, fiercely insipid. And yet behind the jangle and the glitter, there is a very powerful force to which the overwhelming majority of Americans feel strongly committed. They call it, rather cryptically, the American way. To find out rather more about what that means, it's worth leaving the highway and making for the byroads. In the middle of America is the state of Nebraska, Saunders County, District 51, the schoolhouse, where the old values prevail and where the original dream is still nurtured.
I pledge allegiance to the flag the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, you may be seated.
There are 22 schools like this in the county, children from 6 to 14 and 1 teacher.
Early American history. Especially we're going to learn about the first settlements in the United States. Now, they went through some real hardship.
The children come from local farms, and in history they learn about freedom and the individual, about hard work and struggle, about the pioneers who established the American way.
The lack of food and everything, what happened? Mickey?
Most of them died.
Most of them died.
Most of the children are from families that have been in Saunders County since the last century. For example, not only the parents, but the grandparents of Chrissy Nemitz were taught here before her.
Bill of Rights. Now, the first freedom that we have under the Bill of Rights is the freedom of religion, speech, and the press, right of assembly and petition. It's a lot of big words. What does it mean, Chrissy?
Well, the freedom of religion means you can be any religion you want to be. There's no certain one that you have to be. And what was the other one?
Okay. Freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, you can say your opinions out in public.
Okay, as long as you don't infringe on somebody else. Another one of our rights under the Bill of Rights is the protection for persons and their property. That means we're secure in the place where we are. No one can come in and rob us. No one can say, hey, I'm going to take your property. That's no longer yours. If you bought that property and that's your property, no one has the right to come in and take over and say, that's mine instead of yours.
The individual, standing alone against the elements, tilling the land for himself and his family in God's own country. That image is a potent symbol for a nation where a mere 50 years ago, 1 out of every 3 Americans still lived on the farm. Jim Nemitz, Chris's brother, farms acres which were first cultivated 100 years ago. In Nebraska, there are 40,000 family farms. The living is simple, modest, and according to values which are still cherished by much of urban America. Jim's father, Adolf, is Czech by origin. The farm was established by his grandfather, who came here with nothing in 1885. The family has stayed ever since. Adolf and Gladys are Catholics, and like many farming families, are registered Democrats.
I think we represent kind of a summary of what people came here from Europe probably 100 years back. We still hang on to those same values that those people probably migrated here from Europe.
I think that we need enough to survive. We do not have to have all this excess amount of money, great amounts of money, you know, and our furniture probably is very simple, but we don't have to have luxurious things.
I think historically it's been proven that materialism never satisfies the inner needs of humans, and there have been extraordinary wealthy people, you know, that commit suicide or they're very unhappy. And they have all the wealth in the world. They could travel the world or any place they want to, and they still aren't happy.
Adolf was brought up in the Dust Bowl years of the 30s, the Depression, when millions went hungry and small farmers were ruined. His family survived.
They were tough times. I know that Dad didn't grow enough of oats to even feed the horses. Oh, I would imagine it kind of ingrained a sense of conservatism in your when you're that young. You know, you see there's just no way out. You just got to save or tighten your belt more and more every year. It probably just made you an ultra-conservative.
You feel yourself to be ultra-conservative?
I do, right.
And what does that mean in broad terms in your life?
Well, I guess I evaluate whenever I go buy something whether I want it or whether I need it. And need is always the one that
that's the way I feel.
Makes the decision.
How?
I think that maybe it has rubbed off onto some of our children too. I think they kind of hesitate. You know, do I actually need this, or do I just want it?
5 of the children have left home for the city 30 miles away, where they're students or teachers, but they're back at weekends. Jim is determined to stay on the farm, even though it's too small ever to make him rich. Laura is about to graduate from high school.
I don't think they mind work, because I think they feel that through work is the only way you can make progress, personal progress. They always respected authority, and I guess because we told them that policeman is a policeman, you got to listen to them, and dads are dads, and you got to listen to them, and mothers are mothers, and you got to listen to them.
John Colterman is the chief of police for the capital of Saunders County, the town of Wahoo, Nebraska. His responsibilities leave him ample time to show you his patch.
We're right in the middle, from the north to the south and from the east to the west. We're kind of the crossroads of the United States.
The name Wahoo derives from an Indian term for the spring flower that grew in abundance here when the town was founded a century ago. Wahoo is small-town America, 4,000 people, an intimate settled community, and like thousands of others in which 4 out of 10 Americans live.
Well, I would have to say that Wahoo is a very quiet, friendly town where we've had a lot of people move out of Wahoo, even to Arizona and California. They've got out there and have returned back for the quietness and the peacefulness and the friendliness of Wahoo. Hi, Paul. I know the people. They know me. I usually have a real good gesture with children, kids that I get along well with.
You like the place?
I love it. I love it. Hi, Jim. And there's Father McCabe. Hi, Father McCabe.
Hey, John. How are you?
Real good, and you?
Father McCabe is the Catholic priest, whose congregation is mainly Czech in origin and strong in faith.
Father, I'd like to have these meet Jonathan.
Oh, hi, Jonathan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too. John was saying you know about the town.
Oh, yes. I've lived here for a number of years, about 10 years, so I know a little bit.
Father McCabe is a man of influence in Wahoo and sure of its character.
Well, Jonathan, someone asked General Eisenhower what made him be the great person he is, and he's from this area, and he said, I come from the heart of America. And I think that exemplifies the Midwest and this whole area, that this is the heart of the United States, and the people who live here have great heart.
What does that mean? What does it mean to have great heart? What do you mean by that?
Well, I think that there are people who live by traditional values. They are people who are committed. I mean they're committed to marriage, and they're committed to our country, and they're committed to the work ethic, that you don't eat unless you work, and I think that their actions, bespeak of love.
Wahoo is not paradise, but nor is it Peyton Place. The town knows its mind, while its outlook and attitudes still echo in the great cities among that great mass for whom the small town was home only a generation or so ago. The main event every week. Here is the American way at its most basic, the market economy at work. For those whose great-grandparents were peasants from Europe, barter, trade and competition form the natural way of the world. They're no less canny about people. They vote as they buy, after sharp scrutiny and with suspicion of sales talk. Politicians, beware. Wahoo is not entirely without problems.
Go ahead, Unit 8.
We have a report of a found dog on West 10th Street. Young Mesa's residence. Party stated that it was a small brown-white dog.
10-4, I'll be en route.
Hey, you doing 3?
You get a lot of this kind of thing.
Yes, we probably do more dog calls than probably anything in the book. Either lost dogs, or we get calls on stray dogs, barking dogs, biting dogs.
In addition, there were 35 criminal offences last year, including burglary, assault, cattle theft and poaching. But no bank robberies ever, and in 50 years, but one murder, and that a crime of passion. Of course, there is divorce. Schoolgirls get pregnant, teenagers get drunk or take drugs. But the moral code is clear. When the cinema lost custom, Wahoo got blue movies.
In order to keep operating, the owner or proprietor started showing XXX movies. We heard this, you know, prior to the time that it happened, and I viewed the first evening of the showing along with the Catholic women. We brought the theater to a stop in about 3 days.
Brought the theater to a stop?
Yes, he closed up and moved out.
Why did you feel so strongly that you shouldn't have XXX movies in town?
Well, when I viewed how bad and terrible they were, I thought it might bring corruption, you know, to our town. It would increase our sexual assaults, rapes. It would just bring stuff out of the woodwork. So I didn't think it was anything we wanted here, since, you know, we've got a nice little town, and we want to keep it that way.
In Wahoo, there are 7 churches.
He says, "But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's own people, that you may declare the wonderful deeds of him you called out of darkness into his marvelous light. Once you were no people, but now you are God's people. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. You who will be a part of the generation which greatly influences the future of all of us. Not only will you be entering the working force of this great nation of ours, but you will also be involved..."
It is graduation day, and the pastor of the Lutheran Church directs his sermon at those in his parish who are about to leave school.
Each of you young people has an enormous amount of potential to become almost anything that you would like to become. Like the stone cutter, I would encourage you to dream magnificent dreams for yourself and to work to achieve those dreams, developing your skills to the utmost. God is calling you to be his servants in the world in the 80s and the 90s and into the year 2000. We continue our service with the hymn for the day, hymn number 294.
Three out of 4 people in Wahoo attend church almost every week. The polls indicate that throughout America, 3 out of 5 people worship at least once or twice a month, and that the majority of the nation believe in God's power to solve most, if not all, the world's problems. At the Catholic school, the most important day of the year.
The following students have completed the graduation requirements for the state of Nebraska on Bishop Newman High School. Michael Joseph Ashmera.
The bishop awards graduation diplomas to those who are about to enter the world as almost adults. For every family, not least the Nemitz, this is an occasion of intense pride.
Laura Mary Nemitz. Laura is the recipient of a Czech language scholarship to the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, sponsored by the Saunders County Czech Club.
Laura is one of 2 3/4 million Americans who've graduated from high school this summer.
Okay,
Okay, let's get the brothers and sisters in.
So far, at the very least, they've learned about the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But it may be achieved only by hard work in sharp and open competition between individuals who are united in one nation under God. The American way to the American dream.